Hi and welcome to this video. I'm going to explain how you can fill the gaps in your CV. Now, if you've heard from my worst job interview story, I took a 7-month gap between jobs. And the reason for that was health reasons. I had my wisdom teeth taken out and I had all sorts of crazy complications. In fact, they were worried about dirty surgical equipment, which is really kind of worrying when, you've just had an operation and now they're saying you might have hepatitis. Turns out I don't, which is good. It was some really weird thing that just happened. My lymph nodes started swelling up and they couldn't quite work out what happened, but it went away and all is good. Got checked, perfectly healthy. Could have been stress, some sort of viral infection or something. But the key point is I had 7 months between jobs. One way I got around this was learning. So just something as simple as that, as taking a certification or working towards something did help in a positive way. So what I meant is when I applied for jobs and they started questioning, why did you have such a big gap? Well, I kind of had 2 reasons. One, I said, look, I had to take 2 to 3 months off. I had health issues, but they are now resolved. So then when they asked, what about the other 4 months? I could back it up with, I was working towards a certification to help me land a new job. I appreciate the job market is different. And at this time of recording during the corona pandemic, that it's probably going to be a little bit tougher and there may be a bigger gap in employment. But I recommend the best thing you can do is find a certification, or maybe not even a certification, reskill, relearn, or learn new skills. And a shameless plug here, check out my site for fantastic courses at the best price possible, where you can learn them fast and get started straight away. But the key thing is by you learning, you can demonstrate and also have a really good reason as to why you may have a gap. And also on the other hand, some employers really don't care. I mean, if you're good, you turn up there, you're knowledgeable, then yeah, you took a bit of a gap. I don't hear it as being the be-all and end-all as some people make it out to be. I think in some cases where you've had maybe like a 2-year gap, it's probably going to be a little bit harder to explain. And I've heard for some contractors, one guy I knew, he took a year off to travel. And they turned around and said, no, we can't hire you. You must have forgotten everything. And even he's going like, how do I forget everything in a year? This guy was like certified to the nines. This guy was just so qualified, which is pretty awesome for him, but pretty crap in his situation when they go around and say, no, you've forgotten everything you know about IT in a year. And I think that's impossible, right? I mean, how can you forget everything you know? So that's the trick. Pick some skills or even a certification to work towards. In my case, I was working towards the Offensive Security Certified Professional, which if you don't know, is probably one of the hardest certifications you can possibly take. And there's people who've taken it before, and I think the average is, I think on the 5th time or something you pass. I mean, it is absolutely brutal. You have 24 hours to compromise 5 machines and another 24 hours to write up a report on how you were able to compromise those 5 machines. So it's all about cybersecurity. And let me tell you now, I have tried it twice, and unfortunately I failed both times. And I think it's going to be one of those life goals to try and take the cert and pass it. That would be like a massive achievement to get that done. But I can tell you those certs, as far as I'm concerned, were brutal. I don't cope well without sleep. So for me, it was really hard to go by about maybe 2 or 3 hours sleep during the exam and to try and work that hard. But again, it gave me a tremendous amount of experience. And people who knew about the cert were like, wow, I can see why it would take 2, 3, maybe even 4, 5 months to try and work on it. And, it wasn't so much you failed. A lot of people knew about it and were like, wow, the fact you even thought about taking it was just like, wow, that is incredible. So even again, doing something like that and backing it up. And I mean, look, let's say you don't try and do something as crazy as that. Maybe you go, right, I'm not going to do OSCP. Instead, I'm going to pick another cert. I want to move into DevOps. So what do I need? AWS Certified Solutions Architect. You might take a month, 2 months off while you're struggling to find a job, which hopefully won't be the case once you have the cert and you've got some really good skills behind you. You're going to be in a much better position. So when you say, well, why have you got a 2-month gap? You say, but I'm also certified, which I did during that time. Brilliant. Now, I have heard something, and this is a really kind of like grey life hack sort of tip I'll give you. I have heard some people, what they have done is maybe taken a month or 2 off as a holiday, right? And I'll be honest here, whenever I've left a job, I haven't lined something up. And when I've normally left a job, it's around December time or November. So you have a nice whole month of December off, relax, enjoy time with the family. And then come January, when all the companies get their new budgets, it's prime time to find a job. The grey life hack I've heard is a few engineers I know, and look, I haven't done it myself, but I have heard quite a few people do it, is they'll go ahead and say, yeah, during that month or 2 I was off, I got the certification. Now, what they haven't told you is they got that cert like maybe 6 months ago. So as far as their employers concerned, or future employers concerned, they're like, wow, this guy's really good. He's in that time off, he worked really hard and got this cert. I didn't realize he did it 6 months ago. But I mean, look, that's the grey area. I think it's one of those really tough things that, yes, if you have a long gap, it's going to raise some eyebrows. I've heard some interesting tips on CVs where what you should do is put the years instead of months. Now, that works well if you haven't had short-term jobs or contracts where you may have been working 6 months. I mean, if you've been working there for like a year or two and you can patch it out, it looks better on paper that you can say, yes, I've got quite a consistent job history. To kind of sum up here, use your time wisely. I mean, it's not possible sometimes. There are reasons you genuinely have to take time off, and explain it. Look, we're all human, right? If we explain that I had to take this time off because maybe I had to care for a family member or there was some sort of family emergency you had to take care of, people are understanding. Now, if you find yourself in like my situation where it was getting longer and longer and, that wasn't the case, you recovered from your health and you were in a bit of a slump at the time, I think in my case, why it was taking so long to find a job is I was working hard on the cert and I was just like, I've got to get this done. So I spent ages on it. And now when I realized, I went, crap, and I've got a 7-month gap in between my jobs. And it really did flag up as well. I mean, people go, well, why have you spent so long? I've been backed it up with, I was doing this certification, I was working on this material. And the fact I was then able to go in and really talk the talk, it was brilliant. It worked well in my case. I took a couple of months off between jobs, relax, recover, enjoy some time off, spend it with the family. It's your time, you do what you want. And if it's 2 or plus years, it's probably going to be a bit tougher. But obviously you will have a reason why you took that time off. And remember, we're all human. You can explain and say, I had to take this time off for this reason. So there you go. Those are my tips on how you can patch that gap in your CV history. And that wraps up this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.